One of the most common misconceptions is that I can leave it to my tenants or that I can wait till later. So in both of those cases, if you're a large-scale property owner, you're going to end up with lots of variability in your portfolio, different technology sets, and an inability to actually attain the data that you're going to need for ESG reporting and to understand what's happening on your different property sites. So big misconception one, I can wait on this. So if they can work today on understanding how to develop a common approach across a portfolio and pick the right software partners that can give them the data that they're going to need for reporting purposes, that's the number one thing to do.
In order to regenerate, retrofit, refurbish buildings, you have three main families of actions. The first one is about passive elements. It's how you insulate buildings, how you change equipment in order to make sure that your building is well insulated and works best against the weather. This is one thing. The second family of actions category is everything regarding maintenance, regulation, people behaviors, using nudges, behavioral sciences to push people to switch off the lights when they leave their office, for instance, or their room. All these actions that are usually very profitable, quite easy to implement, need to be monitored to maintain the performance over the time, exist as well. And the third category is how you produce energy, how you store energy, how you use the building as an active element for your grids, and how you use low carbon energy in order to feed this building.
One of the biggest challenges in determining where to place investment in green buildings is that lack of regulatory clarity that we're experiencing at the moment. So backtracking on things like the CSRD, it's very distressing and confusing for many investors to decide where to put their money when there's that lack of certainty in the industry around what will be implemented, when and how. And as a global NGO, the World GBC is advocating on a global scale for a lot more of that, I suppose, certainty that gives investors the confidence they need to make those decisions.
I'm very optimistic, yeah. So when property owners talk to their tenants, they're going to find, and I'll provide a few examples. So we talked a bit about the commercial fleet already. We work with several very large retailers that handle their own logistics. And they see this in two interesting ways. One, on the retail sites, they're actually seeing better customer engagement by including a new amenity and incorporating that into loyalty programs and things like that. Two, on the logistics side, they see a way for them to drive down the cost of delivering the business that they deliver. And what's fascinating to me is they think in terms of, when I make this change to electrify my fleet, I drive down the price of a banana. So they know that everything in that supply chain ends up into what the consumer pays. And they wouldn't do this if it were incredibly expensive going the wrong way, because it would make them uncompetitive. So I'm actually quite optimistic that we have a lot of customers like that see this as a cost advantage.
I'm not very concerned about the geopolitical context and the so-called ESG backlash or regulation simplification we face today. First, because I think that too much regulation is not a good thing, and too much paperwork is a waste of time. And second is, I think that the real estate industry has a lot of good reasons to tackle climate change and sustainability, including protecting the value of the asset, improving financial performance, but also managing the risk. And I think that if you look at my clients in the US, for instance, we see a huge demand in the US. Why? Not because they want to talk about climate change or ESG, not at all, they don't want, but they want to protect their assets they invested into. And so in Florida, in California, if you don't forecast this, you are going to face more and more hurricanes, more and more floodings, more and more hits and fires, wildfires. And so you need to, be ready for that. And it's very important to take into account these topics in order to protect the value of your investment.
To keep global warming within 1.5 degrees, sometimes it feels like quite a challenging goal, and decarbonising the built environment, in my opinion, is one of the largest opportunities we have to get there and to have that radical drop in emissions. So that's why I've chosen to work in the real estate sector, the infrastructure sector, because there is such an impact, but there is also that huge potential for changing the baseline of how things are done. And I think that bringing the whole building sector along for that transition is one of the best bets we have to decarbonise globally. I think we can do it. I think we can do it, but it needs to happen faster, and it needs to happen in a more collaborative and interconnected way. So not project to project, organisation to organisation. We really need to be united on a national and international scale.